Thank you for the introduction. So, my name is Maxine Beech and I am a humanist celebrant. That is what I do full-time. That is my full-time job now. So I thought for this talk, since we are sort of opening up debate about humanism in action, I would try and leave enough time at the end to answer any questions. So I've left my presentation quite loose. I thought I'd just tell my story and give you a little insight into the things that I get up to as a humanist celebrant. And then open up if you have any questions and want perhaps have a little bit of a discussion. I've actually unfortunately got to shoot off after this meeting. I've got to drive down to Cambridge, so I won't be able to hang around for very long afterwards. So hopefully, if you have any questions, then do feel free to interrupt me if you want to. I thought I'd put this slide up to start with and introduce this as possibly the best job in the world. I am a little bit biased because this is my job and I absolutely love it. And I put job like that because in many ways it doesn't feel like a job. Celebrancy is something that you get very passionate about very, very quickly. So in many ways it doesn't feel like a job. But I actually only just got this testimonial through the other day. This was last Saturday's wedding on Anglesey with Holly and Damon, who are absolutely fabulous couple. Spent a long time with them planning their wedding ceremony. And this came through just the other day, and they said, just want you to know how much we appreciate the thought and effort you put into everything and what that meant to us. And I think that's really important, that what we do as humanist celebrants is to create ceremonies that are very meaningful to people. And as my dad says, lovely, there are people like you in the world who care enough about these things to make it their life's work, which I thought, I'm going to have to steal that one from my website, frame it and put it up on the wall, and so it's just a recent ceremony. So that kind of says everything about my job. Yes, you know, it pays the bills, but it is so much more than that. It is absolutely wonderful to get an insight into the lives of the people that you end up working with. So I do all three ceremony types. The three ceremony types are humanist wedding ceremonies, humanist baby namings, and humanist funerals. So I'm trained in all those, but I'll reveal all shortly. A question that you might have is, why do we need more celebrants? Or do we need more celebrants? Clearly I'm standing here because we do need more celebrants. And the reasons are that most people still haven't heard about us. Most people don't know that they have choice when it comes to celebrating key life events and milestones in their lives. A lot of people who come to my ceremonies will come up to you afterwards and go, that was just so different and so refreshing. I didn't know that I could do that. I didn't know that we could get married in our parents' garden. I didn't know that we could have a naming celebration that wasn't just a christening. I didn't know that I had this choice. And most people who hear about us tend to have heard about us through actually attending a ceremony. So it tends to still be quite word of mouth. So I very much believe that when we have more celebrants, more of us are available to take ceremonies. And the more ceremonies that we do, we are creating more demand, because the people that sit in our ceremonies all of a sudden realise that that's what they want. And they'll come up to me and say, you know, go and take my funeral when the time comes, or whatever it might be. So people get very excited about it. Just pinpointing on the three ceremony types. So with wedding ceremonies, the legal situation might be helpful. So as the law stands in England and Wales currently, a humanist wedding ceremony is not legally recognised. So what my couples will do is to usually go to the registrar office a couple of days before, maybe a couple of days after their humanist ceremony, and they will do what we call a statutory ceremony. It costs £45 to £50. They go in the room, they don't need to say their vows to each other, they don't need to exchange rings, they can wear what they want, they only need 2 witnesses, they just have to say a contractual and a declaratory statement, and that is it. So it is the paperwork. I say it's like when you go to the bank to change your name. it's, you know, it's a formality. And indeed, it's the same case in many countries around the world. In France, you still have to go to the register office to do the paperwork, and it's separated out. Another argument I like to put forward is that we don't tend to go and follow people when they go and sign a birth certificate or a death certificate. But we see a naming and a funeral, something quite different, so we split out the ceremonies there. So that's the current situation. They are legal in Scotland. They're very popular in Scotland. They're legal in Ireland. As of this year, Northern Ireland and Jersey, and Guernsey is going to follow, we hope, very soon. We're always hopeful that the law will change in England and Wales. In fact, we don't actually need a law change. When the Marriage Act was amended to allow gay marriage in 2013, the government, David Cameron at the time, did actually put in an order-making power, which means that any subsequent government can activate this power, say the magic word, whatever it is, and legalise humanist wedding ceremonies. And it would be, as I understand, fairly straightforward. It wouldn't need a change in law. So if this happens, or rather when this happens, it can happen quite quickly, and we're doing quite a lot of campaigning behind the scenes. We are also putting together a legal case to challenge how unfair the law is in England and Wales, that people who are humanists can't have a ceremony that reflects their belief system, but other faith groups can. There's the potential for devolved marriage laws in Wales as well, and obviously we're quite close to the border. So basically, when this happens, there will probably be an explosion of demand. And I think current celebrants probably feel the same, that you know, once this becomes legal, it will be in the news and people will hear about us a lot more. So weddings could become very popular very quickly. What we're expecting is something like, if I get my facts and figures right, after about sort of 5 or 6 years, we could be doing 25,000 weddings in England, something like that, if we're using the kind of Scottish model. So that's weddings. Naming ceremonies, I would say we need more celebrants, because a lot of people still don't know what a naming ceremony is. And again, the more celebrants, the more people going out there pushing it, and it's the kind of ceremony where I think local advertising works really well. Going to mum and baby groups, posters in cafes, things like that works brilliantly. So training more naming celebrants would be great, so that people know that they have that choice. And a naming ceremony is essentially, it's a welcome to the world, a welcome to the family, to the community. It's a great chance for people to assign perhaps special people, guide parents, mentors, things like that, to welcome a baby into the world. There isn't an initiation into a faith group, it's just a welcome. So they're really, really lovely events, and again, it's still very much word of mouth. So it's only in the last year, I think, that we've been training naming celebrants in just one ceremony type. It used to be the case that you had to be a wedding or funeral celebrant in order to take on namings, but now you can be trained in just namings if that's something that interests you. Funerals is a bit of a funny one. So we've been doing funerals for a very long time. We've been doing ceremonies for over 120 years. But there's a slight feeling that the marketplace, for want of a better word, is sort of changing with funerals. So traditionally, funeral directors have funerals wrapped up. So, you know, when somebody passes away, or you would go to your FD and they would arrange everything for you. So the funeral celebrant would then have to get in with the FD and be on their sort of recommended supplier list. And there's been a lot of independent celebrants as well who are now taking on funerals. But there's a bit of a feeling among celebrants that they're starting to get more interest in people who are doing direct funerals. So not necessarily just going straight to the funeral director, but saying, actually, again, we want some choice, we want something a bit different, we want a woodland burial, we want something else. So it is changing a little bit. So I thought I'd just outline how I came to be a celebrant. So this is where you can usually find me in a coffee shop, generally working on scripts or meeting couples. Really embarrassingly wearing the same jumper that I wear tonight. I do have other jumpers. This is clearly my celebrity jumper with my my 2 lovebirds when I'm thinking about weddings. So I had a sort of humanist wedding 7 years ago. I say sort of humanist because I'd read about humanism and found it quite interesting, but we also had a mutual friend called Peter who was very, very good at public speaking, and actually we asked him, because he knew us so well, to be our celebrant, but we utilised all the resources from what was then VHA, now Humanist UK, on how to put a ceremony together. So we sort of created our own humanist ceremony, and absolutely loved the process of putting our own ceremony together and actually saying something that felt right and fitting for us in our situation. So we had that 7 years ago. I did think about weddings then. I was a teacher, I was an RE teacher for 7 years, and as part of that I was asked to create some resources on teaching humanism within the religion curriculum. And in that line I met up with a few humanist celebrants to find out what a humanist celebrant does. And the common theme was that they were all absolutely wonderful people, just really, really genuinely warm, lovely, friendly people who were clearly passionate about what they did. And that's really what inspired me. That was Victoria Denning, so her fault. And that's what inspired me to look into actually training. Now, at the time, I was a bit worried because I thought, I'm quite young. Do I have the gravitas? Do I have the authority? Will I get any work? Will it fit alongside teaching okay? But a few people gave me a nudge and I applied to do the training. I'm more than happy to take questions about the training, but it takes place over several months, 3 or 4 months. You have residentials, you have assignments, you get observed, you get provisionally accredited, and then you get observed actually doing a real ceremony to get your full accreditation. So I went through the training process, which was highly recommended, really, really high quality training, and thought, well, this would be a nice little project, a little hobby to do on the side of teaching. I'll maybe do a couple a year and carry on teaching. And in the first year I did 7 weddings. Bear in mind, people usually book their weddings 12, 18 months in advance. The second year I had 37 and realised that there's a big demand for humanist weddings, and I had to make a choice between doing ceremonies and doing teaching. So I thought I've served my 7 years. So I do this full time now, and this is a picture from my very first wedding with my very brightly dressed groom. So this was back in 2015, I trained in 2014, that was 2015. So humanist weddings, I thought I'd share with you just a few photos so you get a little bit of an insight into the kind of things I do. A lot of them can feel very traditional. A lot of couples will come to you very excited and say, well, we want to have a humanist ceremony, we want something a bit different, a bit out there. And you start talking to them about their plans and how are you going to be seated, we're going to sit in rows, and we're going to have an aisle, and my dad's going to walk me down, and we're going to have a veil. And you realise that actually what they do is not necessarily that they want something wacky and off the wall. Some of them do. I think my 3rd wedding was a fancy dress one, first and only. Not because it was awful, but just so happened that no one else has asked. They can be very, very different, but the common theme is that they're very, very personal, and you tell stories, and people laugh. And actually it's a really, really emotive, captivating event where family and friends, you get to see them in absolute stitches, tears of joy. You can just use the space how you want to, so it's a little bit like creating a theatre. I like to put my couple side by side because then their guard drops, they're in their natural habitat, they can hold hands, they can do what they do as a couple, and they can actually look at their family and friends as well and get their reactions. And actually it's not just about a spectacle that everybody's witnessing and watching them, but actually everyone's a part of it. So they feel very, very inclusive. They can be held in any venue because they're not legal currently, so you can have them absolutely wherever you want to. This one was supposed to be in the garden. This one was supposed to be, this bride's mother spent about 9 months arranging her garden and planting things to be in flower at the right time, and the weather was like today. We had no chance of having it outside, but thankfully they had a really nice marquee. This one was outside, and the weather was great because this was Mallorca. This was mid-August this year, so you can do them abroad. It just depends where people want you to go. As I say, they can be very, very emotional. both in tears of joy and just people creasing up in stitches. And if this video works, this is actually a very old video, so the problem is I make this video for my website and then cut my hair off. So people see this video on my website and then when I go to meet them, they've got no idea who I am. But I made this little montage of these are my 2016 weddings, so I thought I'd share it with you. You get the idea. I think the common theme is that we just have a lot of fun and you get to know people you work with so well because you will meet with them and they will reveal all to you. And many of them I've stayed friends with over the years as well. Namings I will run through briefly. I've kind of reined in my naming ceremonies, so I've had a bit of a change this year. I'm still doing weddings, but I felt that taking up all of my Saturdays with weddings and Sundays with namings was a little bit unfair on my own family and my own social life. So this year I made the decision, as much as I love namings, to step back from namings, and I've trained this year to do funerals. I haven't yet started them, getting the wedding season out of the way. I haven't had the training, so in sort of end of next month I'll be looking at taking my first funerals. But again, wonderfully joyous occasions, again held in any location you want to. They might be tea rooms, they might be a family home. This was for little Teddy, he was super cute. You can involve, this isn't the parents, these are the guide parents, so it's giving other people, as I say, a special role in that child's life. And they're very relaxed affairs as well. You never quite know, you don't know what's going to happen at a naming, you've just got to be able to think on your feet sometimes. The very first naming I did, gorgeous little baby who decided to throw up 5 minutes before the end. You just have to go with it. So sometimes we just put them out on play mats, have toys around. It's not stuffy, it's not formal, they haven't got to sit somewhere. They do what they want to do because it's about them, and they will absolutely steal the show. This is little Paloma who was watching her granddad sing her a song, which was absolutely lovely. And as I say, I don't have any photos of funerals, but this is a natural burial ground in Wixall, so not too far from here, and I know there are other ones around. So again, just looking at sort of different possibilities for funerals and also memorial services. So again, some people are doing sort of direct cremation, where you just have the cremation and then you actually have the service and memorials somewhere else, somewhere different. You have more time, it's more relaxed, so there are again lots of options around that. So, where I run out of time, I thought I would take any, if we have time, if anybody has any questions at this stage, please fire away.
You were saying about the marketplace, in inverted commas, changing for funerals. If you could sort of fast forward 10 years and the changes you're seeing kind of accelerated, what would be the big changes you would see?
Oh, good question. I mean, this is, as I say, I've only just trained in funerals, so this is all anecdotal. I sit on the marketing committee for Humanist ceremonies, so that's how I have a bit of an insight into how things are changing. I think potentially people are going to be taking control. You know, in the same way that we used to go to the travel agent who would take care of everything, and they would book on our flights and our in-flight meals and our transfers and our accommodation and everything, I don't know, would be packaged, and they'd put a fee on top to do that. That's essentially what a funeral director is doing. They're just putting together a package for you. Whereas now we live in a society where it's much more pick and choose. We can browse all of our suppliers on the internet. We often choose people that we want to work with, especially somebody as personal as a celebrant. So I think potentially in the future people are going to be doing that a lot more and actually choosing things themselves and tailor-making funerals. We are starting to see a lot of pre-need meetings, which is somebody who is going to die, and they are taking responsibility for their own funeral planning. So you can meet with them actually in advance of their death.
Yeah. So there might actually be a different type of funeral director at some point, the one that maybe doesn't have the same type of solemnity that we see at the moment.
Yeah, and they are popping up all over the place, absolutely.
And I just add to that, I think I'm right in saying there's an investigation at the moment into the funeral industry by the government or some authority. So I think it's likely that prices are going to be carefully looked at and possibly pegged and that sort of thing. So things, as Maxine says, are going to change for funeral directors as well, I think. Yeah.
Just another funeral question. On the cases where you do actually have a body, are you not constrained to having
container of some sort.
A crematorium, sorry. Yeah, I mean, or other,
There's surprisingly few regulations, as I understand it, actually about what we do with our dead. And we are just very blinkered. It's become very institutionalised and very medicalised. And we think that it has to go in a certain type of vehicle and we have to stop them in a certain way. But there are FDs who are actually starting to say, take them home, take people home. Look after them yourself. Take them to wherever. Do you mean in terms of if you want a cremation, you have to go to a crematorium? Is that
no, well, I was thinking initially about the location constraints there. In terms of actually putting money, I'm aware that there are quite strict regulations on this, but you can't just bury a body in the garden.
You can,
but you still have to declare it on your...
Yes, it has to be so many feet from a water course.
No, but it also has to be declared. So there is on the...
Yes.
I've checked this one recently.
Yes.
Yeah, but it is possible. And again, people don't realise that correctly, that things are possible. Yeah. Yes.
How did you make inroads with the funeral directors when you approached them?
I haven't yet, as I say, I've just trained, and one of the reasons that I put it off is because I wanted to finish the wedding season, because I know once I go to funeral directors, if they send me work and I decline it because I'm still working on weddings, they probably won't want to use me again because I'll be unreliable or inconsistent. So I wanted to make sure that I timed it, because I'm also going to California for 3 weeks. I wanted to time it so that I know that I'm ready and available. But it will be a case of, I've actually, before I trained, I phoned up my local funeral directors, and they established that people are asking for humanist funerals, and there aren't any where I live. So I know that there is demand there.
You mentioned the training and assignments. Could you say a brief word about what kind of assignments you do with people facing these?
Yes, absolutely. So the training happens over 3 weekends. We have a one-day induction day and then 2 residential weekends, and they're spaced out roughly one a month for 3 months. And you have assignments in between them. So the assignments might be, you've had an email inquiry about a wedding. How would you respond to it? And then it's very much based on script writing. So once you've actually started the training, you look at how to put a script together, whether that's for a funeral, wedding, or name ceremony. And they're all bespoke. Each one is written from scratch. There's no templates, there's no stick names in, there's no copy and paste. So the assignments tend to be about, this is the situation, this is the information about the couple, or about the deceased, or about the baby. How would you write that script? So that's what it tends to be. And then you get to do some role playing and things like that as well.
Is there any family opposition. If a person has made a decision, whether it's a couple getting married or a funeral, and it's against what family would want, particularly a funeral, is family opposition, can that override the person's wishes?
Yeah, so with weddings it's fairly straightforward. Occasionally you'll get some family members that aren't happy that it's not in a church or don't quite understand it. They're usually the ones that will come up to you afterwards and say, that was amazing, that changed my mind. With funerals it can be tricky, and of course you have to think about who your client is. You know, your client is not the deceased, your client is usually the next of kin, and you have to go along with your client's wishes, and yeah, it can cause tensions, often not. It is a rare case, but sometimes you do have disagreements that have to be sorted out within the family.
Just one more question. If there's any others, I think we're going to have to move on. I was trying to get. Okay, well, Maxine, thank you very much.